Hello and welcome to Fergie's Gun episode 8. My name's Nathan and I'm joined as always by my good friend Ahmad.
Hi Nathan, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Another quiet week in Manchester United life.
Very quiet.
Very, very quiet. Barely anything happened. I'm surprised, Surprised. I guess it was exciting last week. Or this week. Jeez, it's not even been a week since Ten Hag got fired.
It's been like 4 days, I think.
Wow. And yes, obviously, I'm being sarcastic because it just feels like every single day there's been something new. But we did the emergency podcast. Eric has gone. He's long gone. He hasn't released a statement, which I thought was quite interesting.
I don't think he should, to be honest. Like, well, what's he gonna say? There's nothing for him to say. I think I saw something yesterday that he traveled to the Netherlands to stay with his parents. I don't know, like he's coping with it probably. I feel like he's actually like devastated, which is a bit sad.
I think he's probably wiping his tears with one of those notes that make up the £15 million severance pay. So I'm sure he's okay. I did read there was a report that mentioned that he thought he was going in the summer. Someone had mentioned, I think it was The Athletic, I think it was Laurie Whitwell was saying that he thought he was done in the summer, and for some reason he ended up staying on. And he told all of his confidants, he told all of his friends and family, everyone that he was sure he was going to get fired, and then he stayed on. So when you hear that type of thing, we weren't supposed to be talking about Ten Hag right now, but when you hear that type of thing, you kind of wonder, like, was he trying to get fired? If the expectation was I'm going to go, was he about to go and just get fired?
No, I don't think a professional any professional at that level would be able to think like that, because I'm sure that he knows that this isn't his last job, and I'm sure he would be like trying to make sure that whatever happens with this job, and by the way, if you hear anything like giggles and stuff in the background, that's my niece and nephew playing peekaboo at the wrong time.
No problem. There's 3 kids in this house as well. They are mine. Let's just clarify that. And they, I'm sure they'll be shouting and screaming while they're playing Roblox downstairs. But just to go back to your point there about saying, he's professional, he wouldn't do something like that. I think about that, and then I wonder, why did you play Mazraoui at the number 10 role? Stuff like that. That kind of just gives you a little hint about his mindset. He's trying anything.
Every time, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, and then I remember that I'm like, yeah, there's no way he wasn't trying to psych himself. I think you're right,
Exactly. Anyway, we're post Eric now, and it looks like we're going to be entering the Amorim. Ruben Amorim has been confirmed as the new manager, so we're about to enter the Amorim era. He has a very similar record to Ten Hag before he joined. He won the league a couple of times. I think he's won the cup as well. Very exciting manager. I don't know personally. I don't know anything about him. I know about him as a player. I remember him as an actual player, but I don't remember anything about him or know anything about him as a manager. And any Manchester United fan that is claiming that they know him and Sporting Lisbon and how they play is either a liar or based in Portugal. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, I've done a lot of research on him in the past 48 hours. So
exactly.
I'd like to think that I know something about him.
I was preempting this. I did because I knew that you would have done some research on him. But even The Athletic was saying, they were having to do their research on him now, the Talk of the Devils podcast, because they didn't really know what he was about, what he did, how his team plays. And I don't either. But you've got armchair fans on Twitter and other social media platforms that are claiming, oh yeah, he's going to do this and he's going to do that and he'll change this and change that. It's like, lads and ladies, like none of this, you don't know anything. There's no need to show off online. Like just be honest and just say you don't know anything about him.
Yeah, true. And like everyone's so excited about him. I don't know. I think we should learn to be cautious when it comes to that, especially when it's a manager that, like you say, that we actually don't know much about. He's been in a league that, I don't know, like I don't think many people watch. And the Champions League, he hasn't done much. To be honest, I did watch like when they played Arsenal in the Europa League a couple of years back. And I was actually impressed. I'm not just saying that. At that point, I was like, this guy has to be our next manager and stuff. I'm just kidding.
It's good. It's good. Early scouting report from 2023.
Yeah, actually, I was very impressed. Even with Ugarte, like, I'm not actually making this up. I was actually really impressed with him.
No, I trust you honestly, because I know that you watch a lot of football. I can't claim to know anything about them. It's the same with any time I hear about a new player. First place I go to, as every other person does, is go to YouTube. We look at the highlight reel of what they do, and then we come back with our opinions about it. But the one thing that I will say is, the manager Amorim is the choice that Ineos have chosen. They didn't choose Ten Hag, and I keep hearing it on different podcasts where they keep incorrectly saying Ten Hag was given a new contract in the summer. He wasn't. As you told me, he got it extended, and that's exactly what happened. They triggered the extension because it was a shot to nothing. They kept him on. They could have kept him for 2 years on the same terms. He got a bigger payoff because they activated it, which is, again, silly of Ineos if he wasn't the man that they wanted in the first place. But they have now got their choice. They've got the person that they want in position to work under the structure that they're now in charge of at Manchester United. And everything that happens from here on out is on them completely. There are no more excuses. This has to work.
I agree. I still think everyone's like, this is Ineos' first big decision, but I still think their decision to keep Ten Hag in the summer was actually their first big decision. And let's be honest, like, I think they got that wrong.
I think you're right about the decision that they made in the summer, because it was so obvious that they wanted someone else in. And the odd thing about that is Amorim was available. He was available at that time, and we probably would have paid the same amount of money for him to get him, which is why, because he flew to West Ham, right? He actually flew to West Ham to have a meeting with them. He was nailed on to be the Liverpool manager until Arne Slot was given the job. So he's been in the Premier League ecosystem, talking to clubs previously. Man City wanted him after Hugo Viana went there as their sporting director or director of football. I don't know what the role is. So his name's been bandied around, but in the summer, as you say, he was right there. We could have gone and got him at that moment in time, but I just don't know why they gave. I don't know why they gave Ten Hag the benefit of the doubt. I think they were swayed by the fan jubilation of the FA Cup win, and I think they didn't want to come across as being the bad guy. And I've said this before, but they wanted to give him enough opportunity to fire himself. I think they always knew it was going to be this conclusion where the form would be dreadful, and they didn't want to make that move, and that's why they let him go. But we discussed all of this last time in terms of like Ten Hag leaving, and you can listen to that on the previous podcast. But Amorim coming in it's exciting, and it will be interesting to see if he sticks with the 3-4-3 formation that he's known for at Sporting, or if Ineos, as they say, or Manchester United, as I keep saying, if they have a system that they want him to play specifically, and if he's going to change it, or if he's going to just fit with what they want to do and are currently doing.
Like when it comes to the system that he plays, I don't think it's a rigid 3-4-3 like everyone thinks. Like it's tactics and these things they're just like, they're fluid, you know, like you have like the formation on the ball, you have a formation off the ball. So like a 4-2-3-1 can turn into like a 2 at the back at some point, and it depends who you're playing. So I don't really look too much into like what formation he plays. Is it gonna fit our players and these things? I just look at, is he the guy to actually be able to get these players to be motivated enough to perform? That's what I think is lacking at the club. Because if you want to talk tactics and formations, Ten Hag was actually great at that, and everyone always says that he has like this genius tactical mind, as we saw. But I think the aspect that was lacking with him is actually maybe like communicating with the players, getting his ideas across, being, I don't know, like emotional enough for the players so that they can be motivated. So I'd actually, I don't know, like I think Ineos went for Amorim based on that more than based on how he sets up the team. I personally, I hope he sticks to the 3-4-3. I actually like it, and I think we have the players to play it. I think it would solve a lot of the defensive issues we have and the midfield issues that we have. And if he's actually if it's his formation, then I think it would be easier for him, especially that he has no preseason. He doesn't have like much time to work with the players. He should stick to his formation and just, I don't know, just play the season on with that. So I don't know. I think it would be a different system, like a different game to watch for us. But I'd actually be looking forward to that. Do you think? Do you think the 3-4-3 is good for us?
I think he's going to get a carte blanche, as they would say. I think he's got a free hit this season because he's come in so late. I don't think there's any major expectations apart from to improve our current league position. So I think there will be a period of him trying to implement his style of play. Then there'll be a period of him just trying to get the wins. And then we'll get through to the summer. And then we're back to the rinse and repeat method of getting rid of all of these signings, which we'll come on to later, by the way. Getting rid of all of these signings and then replacing them again with players that fit a new system. But the thing is, it couldn't have got any worse. Amorim coming in, like he's, as always happens, you'll get the honeymoon period. But there's certain players in this squad that have been around various managers, like more than two, more than three. And you have to wonder whether it is the culture there that United need to change rather than the manager all the time. So it will be interesting to see how that all pans out. But until that point, we have got Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's in charge, which seems like a good segue to talk about the Leicester City game. I didn't stay up for the Leicester game. You know that. You know I was asleep by 8:00. Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, even though they changed the timings, so now we're like in the winter time. I don't know why it's got winter clock or something.
The clocks go spring forward, fall back in the UK. So the clocks go back in the autumn.
Yeah, so like now the games that we used to watch at 11, for example, we're watching them at 12 a.m.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not easy. But I did stay up. I did stay up for the game. To be honest, like I fell asleep last 10 minutes, but I did stay up for all the goals at least.
There you go. The damage was done by that point. So
Exactly.
But it was. I could have predicted that we was going to smash Leicester, like with Van Nistelrooy in the dugout. It was great to see that reception that he got. It was great to see him on the touchline as Manchester United manager. I've already said that he shares a resemblance to yourself. So it's good. It's good.
No. This guy. Like I always say, he has this like charisma around him. I'm not just saying that because you just said that he looks like me, but
it's all right, mate. No. It's fun.
No, but this guy, he has something about him. He's like you just know when he enters the room. Like there are certain people that you actually know when they come into the room. Yeah. And for everything he's done for the club as a player, and I don't know, like it's a good thing that they announced, or like it was semi-official, that Amorim was going to come in before the Leicester game, because if it wasn't for that, I would have said just keep Ruud on for the rest of the season, because he I don't know if he has what it takes to be the United manager, but all the things that I was alluding to when it comes to Amorim and like the difference between him and Ten Hag in regards like to his way of communicating, to his way of talking to players and these things, I don't think Ruud is bad at that either. So I think it's actually one of Ruud van Nistelrooy's strong points. So yeah, like and the way he was pumping up the crowd, hyping up everyone around him, I don't know. It felt nice. I loved saying that.
I think he did bring a lot of energy to that touchline, and it was something that we've been kind of lacking for a while, or just not. That's nothing to do with Ten Hag per se. Like he was animated at times, but I think in the last few games for Man United, he just looked like the ghost of Old Trafford. He was just he didn't look like his normal self. It was like he was just waiting for the inevitable, and it was a desperate time. But seeing Ruud like stride down the touchline, seeing his celebration when Casemiro scored that absolute haymaker, like unbelievable. What a goal that was. And that, obviously he was keeping that in his locker until Ten Hag left. And every shot, the look that we didn't have against West Ham suddenly appeared against Leicester. And it's a game of fine margins. And if we had beaten West Ham by like comfortably, 3-4 goals, would we be still having this conversation about Ruud van Nistelrooy being in charge today? Would we be still having this conversation about Amorim coming in? There's lots of moving parts to this, which makes it sound like, did Ineos have a plan at all? But just as a whole, I just want to look at the Leicester game and that performance, because I did watch the extended highlights, and they all seem to be playing with the shackles off, which I thought was interesting. We get this all the time. I mean, when Solskjaer took over, we banged 5 goals in against Cardiff. So he's equaled that record straight away. But you always get this new manager bounce with Manchester United. Whenever a new manager comes in, he always manages to get a tune out of them. It's 6, 7, 8 months down the line, when that person's been around for a while, that you begin to see the form drop off. I'm not saying they're down in tools, but you just see there's a slow decrease in form. And it's happened so often that it's not coincidence. It can't be. So they'll enjoy these next 4 games with Van Nistelrooy in charge. Is it 4 games?
3 games. 3 more games.
3 games, and they're all at home as well. Yeah. So they'll enjoy these 3 games with Van Nistelrooy. Old Trafford will be banging. That's the loudest I've heard Old Trafford cheer when Casemiro scored that goal. Like, it just felt like a 2.5 years worth of stress and depression just came out at once from every single fan as soon as that ball went in. It was ear splitting.
I mean, yeah, like you said, like everything was going our way. That goal, I don't think Casemiro has ever scored a goal like that in his whole career. And like even his second goal, like it hit both posts and came back to him, and everything was going our way. Like even Bruno's goal was a back pass. So like you say, it's a game of fine margins. I guess that's why, like us football fans, that's why we love football. That's what's always keeps us so invested in the game. Like the smallest of margins can change literally the course of history for a club and the player and the manager or anything. And interestingly, I don't think like we changed our shape or anything. Like we were playing the exact same way that we were playing under Ten Hag. It was just I don't know, just like everything seemed to go our way, and the players were actually playing with more energy. Like you say, the shackles off. So these things are always temporary. Like this surge of energy that they get is just temporary because of the new manager bounce. I hope it like just keeps pushing us forward like in the next few games, because we desperately need the points in the league, especially. So I don't know.
What do you think will happen to Van Nistelrooy when Amorim comes in? Because it's been reported that Rene Hack is going to be leaving the club, which, fine. Yeah, exactly. Shrug the shoulders, like, who's he? He's not Van Nistelrooy. Yeah, see you later, mate. But it's been reported that also that Van Nistelrooy wants to stay on in some capacity. He turned down the Burnley job at the beginning of the season. He turned down a number of different offers because he wanted to be part of the Manchester United setup again. And he wanted to learn from, as reported by The Athletic, he wanted to learn from Ten Hag as a number two within that role. But I'm sure there was there was part of his mind that was like, I'm probably going to end up managing them if he gets fired, like even just for a little while. And it's a dream come true for him, obviously. But what do you think would happen to him after Amorim comes in? Because we're apparently taking 5 members of his backroom staff from Sporting, aren't we?
Yeah, of course. Like Amorim is going to want to bring his own guys in, which he should. But I also think like he should keep Ruud at the club, like I don't know, as a second assistant or something. Because like you said, Ruud was saying that yesterday that he still has 2 years in his contract as assistant manager, and he intends to fulfill that. So I hope he stays, because I'm sure Amorim is going to need, like he would actually use Ruud's help. Ruud knows everything about the club. Amorim coming first time managing outside of Portugal. Premier League is not easy. You need this like experience around you. So it wouldn't be the worst idea. And the players love him. The fans love him. He's not the kind to be he's not the kind to have this ego that he wants to be the manager, even though he's assistant. He's not going to be forcing his ideas on Amorim. So I really hope Ineos see it like that as well, which I think they do, but they're not going to overrule Amorim on the first big decision. So if he's going to say, I don't want him because it's going to be like, I don't know, too many cooks in the kitchen, then I think he's going to go. But I really hope he doesn't. Especially after seeing him like managing the game against Leicester, especially if he does well in the few games that he has. So I don't think it would be the worst idea to keep him on.
I think I would love him to stay. I definitely would love him to stick around. I mean, that's dependent on how these next few games go. If he loses them all by 6-0, then off you go, pal. But when you look at the people that have done this previously, when you look at like Carrick when he was in temporary charge, Kieran McKenna was his number 2. Those guys could have stayed around, and they were offered a position on Ten Hag's backroom staff, but they left to go and find their feet elsewhere. And you have to remember as well that Carrick wasn't a manager, but got an opportunity with Middlesbrough, and then McKenna wasn't a seasoned manager, got an opportunity with Ipswich and done fantastic. Van Nistelrooy is a manager. He's coached PSV. I think his love for Manchester United would not supersede a big club coming in for him. I think if a team in Europe that was like moderately higher, definitely not a championship club like Burnley, but I think if another club came in and wanted him to take the reins after his caretaker period is over, I wouldn't hate him leaving and going off to do that, because I think, as you said, it's a good thing and a bad thing to have Amorim keeping him on because obviously he has a connection with the fans and the club in general, but also, I mean, we even saw it with Ten Hag when everything was analysed on touchline, where the media was like, "Oh, look at Van Nistelrooy's face. Oh, look, they're arguing about this." Like those types of things, they might just be like flashes that me and you see on like news channels, or sports channels, social media, whatever. But those types of things, I'm sure they're ingrained in the managers and the setup there. I'm sure they do come across, even if it's just a friend mentioning it to them, like even if it's just someone just in their ear just saying, "Oh yeah, they caught Van Nistelrooy doing this, or they caught this player doing that," or whatever it is. What I'm trying to say is, there could be the media love a story out of Manchester United and then love a negative story. If he stayed on as an assistant manager, the first time he frowns on that bench, there's going to be headlines about it, literally. And I don't know if that's going to be sustainable for Amorim when he comes in. So I'm just going to enjoy what we've got right now, these next 4 games, or 3 games, sorry. I think his final one is it Pal?
Leicester at home.
His final game is Leicester at home, is it?
Yeah, and the league.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. So I'll, enjoy those games, enjoy it for what it is, sing his name after, as soon as you see him walking down the touchline, and then whatever happens after that, it has to be all on Ineos and all on Amorim. So we thought we'd do something different for to commemorate Erik ten Hag being fired. We're going to look back at the 21 signings that he's had, which was over, I think, was it over 600 million that he'd spent? 500 million he'd spent?
Yeah, 600 million pounds.
A ridiculous amount of money. But he signed 21 players in that time, and some of them were loan signings, some of them are permanent signings, and it's been what you could only say was a mixed bag. So we thought we'd go through the players list and give them a rating out of 10. Just based on we can do it based. I'm going to do it from what was rated by Sports Illustrated as worst to best. So I'm going to do it in that way, because I don't quite agree with their structure.
Me neither, yeah.
So I'll go through it that way. So do you want to start? So it's out of 10. It's out of 10, and based on how they played for Ten Hag, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go. Like value for money in this thing as well.
Let's do it. Everyone's favourite spinning top, Anthony. What score are we giving him?
Personally, I'm giving him 3 out of 10. Because I'm taking into consideration like the value for money as well. So yeah, 3 I think is generous too.
I think you've been more generous than me, mate, because I've given him a 2.
What?
I think he typifies the Ten Hag era of bringing in players like mixed bag, as I just said before. Like he doesn't feel like a part that fit that team whatsoever. Even on paper, when he came in, we only signed him because we couldn't get, who was it that we went for? Was it Kane? Was it Kane at that point, or was it someone else?
I'm not sure. Anthony, I think we were looking for a right winger, so it was only him, unfortunately.
But I think I'm sure we was going for someone else. I'm sure it wasn't just Anthony. There was someone else that we were going for, and it didn't quite work out. Anyway, just 2 out of 10, and the reason for that is he's flattered to deceive. In his first games, he was decent, and then Ten Hag. This is the player and how he was managed in the team, by the way, how he was deployed. So the way that Ten Hag played him constantly on the right hand side, he just became so predictable that you knew what he was going to do. Cut inside on his left foot, not quite as good as Robin, and end up going down the cul-de-sac and getting tackled. So it's a 2 from me and a 3 from you. So I think that's fair. Mason Mount.
Mason Mount. It's a bit tricky with Mason Mount. I like him as a player. I think he brings a lot to the team when he's fit. But the thing is, he's not fit. So, and like the fact that we signed him for about, I don't know, what was it, like £55 million? And he had like 1 year left on his contract. So that was ridiculous. Based on that, I'd give it a 4, to be honest. Like maybe even a 3, because he scored 1 goal even. Like he didn't do anything the past, 18 months now.
I've got him as a 4 as well, mate. I've got him as a 4. And it is to do with the fact that how much we paid for him and how much he's been available. I can't say fairer than that. He hasn't really had any great contribution to the team whatsoever. And he came in as one of these players that Ten Hag was like, this guy's going to change the game for us. He's going to trigger the press. He's going to be there for us. And then he came in, even when he was fit, he was on the bench. Like, Ten Hag didn't trust him to play him. So it's
where
a
is he now? Like, where is he now? Like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't get it. How he gets injured. He comes back for like a game. He gets injured again. That's an injury that's supposed to be like for a week or 2, and then takes stands for like a month or 2. He comes back. He gets injured again. Like, I don't know. I don't get the cycle, to be honest.
I mean, we're going to be going through these 21 players, and I'm fairly certain that's the same thing that happens with all of them. So next one is Jack Butland. On this list from SI, from Sports Illustrated. So the order that we're going in, it was 21 to 1. Okay, so worst to best. Jack Butland was above Anthony and Mason Mount, having never played a game for Manchester United.
I actually forgot that we signed him. I have no recollection of that.
So your score, sir?
I don't know, like an A.
An 8?
No, an A. Not applicable.
I thought you was giving him an 8. It's like, wow. That is generous. I've given him a 0 simply because he didn't play any games. But yeah, NA's that should have been the one. Bayern Deer.
He had a stinker against Leicester last game, to be honest. I don't think it's good enough. Maybe he's a good backup for like a mid-table or like lower league team, but for United, he's not good enough. He's good with his feet. But as a goalkeeper, he's not good enough. So, I don't know. I just give it like a 3. Like it's just like a 3. Very basic.
I gave him a 4 simply because he has a bit of potential. But Ten Hag, I should have lowered it because Ten Hag never played him. Even during the cup runs, he never played him. But he was the one that bought him, or was it Ed Woodward? Was that one of his last things that he did?
I don't know. It was under Ten Hag. I think Woodward left long before Ten Hag anyways. It was Arnold who brought Ten Hag in.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Martin Dubravka, the former Newcastle United goalkeeper. In fact, I think he's still there, isn't he?
Still there, he's still there. Actually, to be fair, Dubravka had a few good games for us when, I don't know if De Gea was injured or something, but Dubravka was not bad when he came on. He's an experienced seasoned Premier League goalkeeper who does the job. Wasn't that good with his feet, but he actually used to, I don't know, I think he had good saves when he used to play. So I'd give him like a 5.
Okay. I've given him a 3 simply because I didn't think he had much impact on Manchester United at all. And did we cut his loan short and send him back? Or did Newcastle cut it short and bring him home?
Yeah, I think we did, to be honest, because I think like by that point he wasn't playing at all. So yeah,
A very similar situation with the next person on the list, Reguilon.
Yeah, Reguilon. I'd give him a 5 because he was good. He was good when he was playing. He had decent games. He played Champions League, Premier League, and he was the only like left back that we had at that point, and he was doing well. I still don't get why you would like cut the loan short when you don't have any fit left backs. That's how it is with United. So yeah, that's the basic 5, I think.
Okay, I've given him a 6 because I thought he did a job for United, and I think he was hard done by at United as well, simply because whatever the reasoning was for sending him back to Brentford, was it Brentford or was it Spurs at the time?
Spurs, yeah, Spurs.
Sending him back to Spurs when we didn't have a fit left back was just bananas. Like, I didn't understand it at all. But when he did play, he looked all right. Speaking of people that barely play, Malacia.
The ghost of Old Trafford. I don't know, to be honest. So,
it's a difficult one with it. Yeah, exactly.
He had you saw the potential. Yeah, although I was never convinced that he was ever good enough to be the starting left back for United. He always had this mistake in him. I don't know. He was Josh. He couldn't hold that position at all. But he was a good backup option to have. And when he did play, he was decent. But yeah, then he disappeared like completely. So I give him if I give him a low rating, it would be harsh because it's because he's injured and it's not his fault. But I have to be ruthless. So I'm gonna give him like a 4 or something. 4 is fine.
Okay, I've given him a 5 based on, as you say, his injury record, because I feel like it was completely mismanaged by Manchester United. Yeah. I think in the games that he did play, he showed that he could be the perfect understudy for Luke Shaw, who, let's not forget, has been out for probably about the same amount of time as Malacia. We just haven't noticed it as much because he showed up at the Euros playing for England and then immediately got injured again. But I thought Malacia could do a job. I'm excited to see how he is when he comes back. But when you've been off for so long, he's going to play havoc with your brain. But let's see how Amorim uses him, because he's a wing back, right? Yeah, and that's what Amorim likes. Weghorst.
Weghorst. He was only there for like 6 months. He was. I liked him, to be honest. I liked him. He added to the team. He was good for the system. When we went on this great run from January up until the Carabao Cup final, he was one of the main players there. So yeah, he came in as an emergency signing, and I think the main reason we got him was just a pressing forward, which Ten Hag needed. But he scored 1 goal, I think, or 2 goals, and none in the Premier League. So based on that, I'm gonna give him a 5.
5. I've gone one better and given him a 6. Just because the lasting image of him on his knees after not scoring in the FA Cup. In the FA Cup final, was it the League Cup final? League Cup final, wasn't it? And he was cheering and screaming, and he had a lovely time at Man United. He could not believe his luck. Could not believe his luck that he was at Manchester United.
He's doing well at Ajax. Yeah, he's doing well at Ajax.
He is. I don't hate him, and I thought I enjoyed him. I enjoyed him as a cult figure in the same way that I did Fellaini.
No. Fellaini is a different level, man. This guy is so underrated. I love Fellaini, man. I love Fellaini.
that's a conversation for another time. But
Yeah.
I'd love to pick your brains on that one. The next one up is Casemiro.
A 7 from me. A 7, yeah.
7 for me as well. 7 for me.
Well,
Did you hear what Van Nistelrooy said about him after the game?
no, I think I read it, but I don't know.
He basically said that how excited he was for Casemiro, and that's what gave him the added leap in his step when he was celebrating his goal, the opener against Leicester, because he said he's a model professional. He's taken a lot of flack. He actually said this. He said he's taken a lot of flack for the way that the team has been recently, and it's been completely unfair. He's a 5-time Champions League winner, and every day that he comes into the club to do training, he's a model professional to everyone around. So I think he showed his quality against Leicester. I know it was it's a weaker side, and we need him doing that against like a Man City or a Liverpool. But at the same time, he's never really had anyone consistent at the side of him apart from Fred. And I don't think, as much as I love Mainu, he's not the person that's going to complement a Casemiro. You need someone that's going to do the dirty work, and Ugarte seems to be that player. But in terms of overall impact, he saved us so many times in games like that. Was it an overhead kick that he scored against Bournemouth, or that?
It was like semi overhead, yeah.
Yeah,
and he scored big goals. He scored big goals.
Yeah.
Like even the goal against in the Carabao Cup final, he scored the goal against Chelsea in his first season. That actually home and away he scored. I think he's been good. Even his first season, he was really good. I loved him. Last season, I think he was struggling with injuries. Maybe we judged him too harshly. This season, the structure of the team probably didn't help him. He got a lot of blame for the Liverpool game, which rightly so. He did deserve that. But ever since, to be fair to him, ever since the Liverpool game, every time he's played, he's been very, very good. Not very, very good, but he was good.
He was good. Again, I need to bring back the focus of how this list was structured by Sports Illustrated, because above him is Amrabat. And what score are you putting on Amrabat?
Honestly, the only reason I'd give him a 6 is because of the FA Cup final. Other than that, I'd give him a 5. So, yeah, I don't think. I don't know. What do you think?
I think a 5 is fair. I think he did okay for Man United, but I think one of the big issues is, and this is why we're rating Ten Hag's signings here. So it's why he signed him, obviously, and also how he was used within the system and how he played. So all of these things come into the decision when I'm making it here. But for a player that came in with such high value and high expectations, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and then he was sat on the bench again for a lot of the time. What is Ten Hag thinking when you're bringing those players in?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was Ten Hag. It probably was Ten Hag, but it's just he was never ever good enough to play for United. He never had the quality for it. I think everyone it's I call it the World Cup tax. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
They watched him in the World Cup only, and I don't know how can you judge a player based on this 4-week period when every player is going to give their best for their country and then the World Cup in front of everyone. But it was obvious that he wasn't good enough. He wasn't up to standards. But I think he actually played really well in the FA Cup final. But other than that, I don't remember any good performances from him.
Average. You just reminded me about the buying players based upon a competition when we bought Karol Poborski after one chip over Peter Schmeichel. And that worked out. That worked out really well. Brilliant.
And buying Kleberson after the World Cup as well.
Yeah, that was always a weird one. Again, this list, Sabitzer is above Casemiro on this list. He's in 11th place. Sabitzer for me had a lot of potential, but he was one of those. I know it was only a loan signing, but I'm giving him a 5 simply because he was just an extra pair of legs in there. I think he was a walking yellow card every time he came onto the pitch because he was desperate to stay after his time at Dortmund was coming to an end. So, but he kept throwing himself into challenges, and when you asked him to do a job, he was there to do it, and I think he was decent. But overall, like in terms of his impact on the team, bang average for me. What about you?
I liked Sabitzer. I thought he was good. So, yeah, I think 6 from me. I think he had the quality to play for us, or to at least be a squad player. He had good games for United, but it's not easy coming into a team in the middle of the season and like being expected to perform to your best levels. And as we saw, like with Sabitzer last season, he was one of the main reasons why they reached the Champions League final. It was very good. And we saw like he can actually score. The game versus Sevilla, he scored 2 goals in like 5 minutes for us. So yeah, I liked him. I'm not sure. I think we should have kept him as a squad player, like especially after seeing the amount of injuries that we had last season. But yeah, it's probably for the best for both sides.
I think a lot of the players that we've talked about and that we've covered so far, they are squad players, so to speak. They're not like every single player up until this point has been a squad player. Even Casemiro coming in when he did wouldn't have walked into the first team at Liverpool, wouldn't have walked into the first team at Man City. Like he was coming to the end of his career at Real Madrid, and they were replacing him. I mean, they replaced him with Camavinga, Chimene. There was a couple of others as well that they signed.
Adagula?
Yeah.
Adagula, yeah.
Like they replaced them in a way that Manchester United should have been doing from the start. You know, when like our old players leave, we have a replacement policy for them, but we never did that. Probably going back all the way to Roy Keane, and then Carrick. Like we never replaced those players. Next on the list, we still got a few to go, so we'll speed it up a little bit. Joshua Zirkzee is at number 10. He had a bad game against. From what I saw, he had a bad game against Leicester.
Yeah, he didn't have the best of games. He still had those like glimpses of like you can see what he brings to the team. You can see his quality, but I think he's just not up to standard yet. I think it just needs time with him.
You think he'll make it then? You think he's got the qualities to be able to do it? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm gonna because it's way too early. I'm just gonna give him like a 6.
Okay, I'm giving him a 5 for his goal, his one goal, and his potential. But obviously, we didn't get to see him enough under Ten Hag. Again, a player that Ten Hag quite often left on the bench because he didn't know where to play him. Manuel Ugarte is in 9th place on this list. But I feel like it's too early to judge him. Probably had his best game against Leicester, right?
He had a really good game against Leicester. He's been having a good few games, to be honest. Against Leicester, against Fenerbahce. Yeah, I'd give him a 6 as well. I like Ugarte. I think he's one of the players that we're going to build around. And he has the qualities for it. So, yeah, but it's still too early as well. So, yeah, 6 is fine for him.
I've given him a 6 as well. Okay, De Ligt.
De Ligt, I'm giving him like a 6 as well. He's been good. I don't think he's as bad as people are making him out to be. He's been fit, which is something I wouldn't have thought. He's been fit for like playing, and he's playing all the games. So I think 6 is good, and I think also he's one of the players that we're gonna be building around, and yeah, I think he's gonna be like our main centre back for the next few seasons.
Yeah, I've given De Ligt a 7 simply because I think he gets it. he gets Man United. He gets what it is to play for the shirt, and I think, as you say, you'll build a centre back pairing around him and the next person on the list, Lenny Yoro, who, I mean, you can't even rate him. It's another NA.
Yeah, it
it's
is.
another
It is.
NA.
But I think if we're having this conversation in a few months or like a year or something, I think it's going to be like an 8 or 9, to be honest.
Yeah.
I hope so, at least.
But also as well, some of these, they're lit, obviously, yeah, fine. But Yoro, Ashworth signing or Ten Hag signing?
Definitely Ashworth, or like Ineos at least. Definitely, yeah. I don't think Ten Hag would mind him. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was, this is one of the players that we're going for. I'm sure he had to say, yes, brilliant, that's fine. I'm sure he did have the final veto on players, but I'm sure Yoro would have met his standards. Mazraoui.
7. Even though like it's early for him, but every time he plays, you can see he's actually a good, like, basic footballer who can actually give you a 7 out of 10 most times. And for the money that we got him for, I think he's amazing. So yeah, like a 7 is very good.
I've given him an 8 simply because I feel like Ten Hag actually got that signing right when the opportunity was there to get a player that he'd worked with before, in air quotes, because this is, that became the theme of everything that he ever did. Mazraoui was one of the ones that actually fit. I mean, he played on the right, he can play on the left, he can play at the number 10 role, as we discovered. But I think he's probably he's a very good squad player. And I think in terms of the players that Ten Hag actually signed, he's probably one of the more positive ones. Højlund?
Højlund, probably a 7. I think I can see the potential. Like, he has potential. I really like him. But I think he's been getting injured way too often last season and this season. We haven't been seeing a consistent run of games for him. And when he did actually get that, he was scoring like crazy amount of goals. So I can see like there's a player in there. So yeah, like a 7 is good.
I've given him a 6, so above average, but based on his injury record and his impact on a lot of games, I think until this season, he spent a lot of his time trying to prove that he was physically capable of dealing with Premier League defenders by wrestling with them and spending way too much time kind of like getting into physical battles with them. Whereas this season, if you look at how he's playing with his back to goal, he's a lot sharper and giving the ball off and then making the run, which I'm sure is Van Nistelrooy's impact on him. But he's spending a lot less time doing the busy stuff and like holding on to players and the rest of it, and more time actually getting forward. So I think as a 6, and I really hope by the end of this season that raises to like a 9. Onana, sure to split opinion amongst the fans.
Yeah, it's an 8 for me. I love Onana. I think he's really good. I think last season, maybe a lot of people, like, until now, they have this idea of him based on like that the amount of mistakes he did at the beginning of his career at United. But I just put that down to the fact that he was coming into a new country, new club, new everything, and he never had a stable defense in front of him. But ever since, like, I don't know, like I'd say January last year, he's been really good. And this season, he's been, in my opinion, he's been our best player. So yeah, and he adds a lot to the team, and I think like that's what you need in a modern goalkeeper. So yeah, an 8 for me.
I think he's definitely progressed, and I've given him an 8 as well. He was very shaky when he started. He got mobbed from the halfway line in his first game.
Yeah.
as we remember in the Community Shield. But I think he's built his confidence since that time, and he's doing well. And I saw De Gea when Ten Hag got fired. He posted the Italian, the little hand gesture. But then for anyone that remembers De Gea with the rose-tinted glasses, it's probably worth going back and seeing some of the howlers that he produced in the tail end of his final season at United, because they were bad. They were real bad. And fantastic that he's having a great time at Fiorentina right now. But he was dropping some clangers for United. So I think we've leveled up. It's taken its time, but we have leveled up with Onana. So can't really complain about that. Johnny Evans.
Done.
I mean, I'm up there with a 9, mate. I'm up there with a 9.
Yeah, okay. To be realistic, I'd give him like a 9 as well. I love it. Yeah, he's been brilliant. Like, I don't think anyone expected any of the things that he's been doing. But every time he plays, you just feel like he's the best defender out there on the pitch, which is weird. Like, he came on a free from Leicester, and he's 36, 37 years old. Like, he just does everything. Like, all the basics, he does them perfectly. So, yeah, and like for free, and of course he's like, we have this emotional connection. Like, personally, I do. I have this emotional connection to him. So yeah, like a 9 is nice.
I think I've given him a 9. However, if we're rating it from Ten Hag's point of view, I think Ten Hag stumbled across Johnny Evans and found himself in a very good situation, because Evans, by his own admission, thought he was coming in for a couple of months to try and shore up a few gaps and probably wouldn't even play, like a Jack Butland style character. And then he's become integral to that back line, which tells you everything you need to know about that current Manchester United squad. That a 36, 37-year-old player comes in and immediately stakes a claim for the first team squad. It's embarrassing. Speaking of older players, we've also got Christian Eriksen in there. How would you rate him?
Eriksen, I'd give him an 8, to be honest. Just
8?
For the fact, yeah, man. No, he's been good. What, is that too low or too high?
It's high. I think it's high anyway.
No, I think people seem to forget the first season he had with us. He was one of our top 3 most important players in the team. So, and he just does the simple things right. And I don't think we have, thinking of it, I don't think there's any other player on the team that does what he does. Just keeping things ticking, simple passes, short passes, long passes as well. Controlling the tempo of the game. What lets him down is his physicality, but I think he's never been this physical player, even when he was younger. His set pieces are good, and for the fact that he came in for free as well. So, and this season he's been amazing. So, yeah, I think an 8 is good.
Okay, I've given him a 6.
6?
6, yeah.
Why though?
I think again, I'm rating it as a whole thing. Like, so why we signed him. Again, squad player, but he's now in the first team, and that squad has not progressed in 2 years. So we're still reliant on Christian Eriksen producing magic in the middle of the park, when we should have had a succession plan where we've got more energy, not just relying on him pulling something out of the bag. And I like Christian Eriksen. I should probably give him a 7, actually, because it's slightly unfair. But I just think that he's, symptomatic of that squad and Ten Hag's inability to create a meaningful midfield. But the last one that's on the list as well is, or rated as number 1, is Martinez. How would you rate?
I'd give him a 9. I think he's been our best signing under Ten Hag, for sure. We missed him a lot last season. The first season, he was amazing. This season, he's been up and down, but I think he's starting to get into the rhythm. He can do a job center back, left back. His personality, I think it's like his it's contagious for the people around him. And yeah, I just think he's a brilliant center back, to be honest. I just think I like going back to the 3-4-3 for Amorim. I think he's perfect in that left center back role for him. Yeah, so I think 9 is good for him.
I've given him an 8. I've got an 8 for him, which is still good. Not as good as Johnny Evans, but still good. I think you're right about what he brings to the team and the squad, and we need more personalities like him, which is why I think him and De Ligt work well together. The only drawbacks that I have is, I don't know. I don't feel like this season and the tail end of last season, when he played, obviously he was injured for a majority of it, he seemed to have lost a bit of the speed, a bit of the tactical nous, a bit of the... There was just something missing from that first season that he had with United, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but...
I can tell you what it is. Just he got heavier. Like, I actually noticed it. He's heavier. I think he put on like muscle. He put on muscle weight in the time he was like injured, so that he can deal with the physicality of the league. But like it lost him this agility and like he's heavy. I can see it. I know what you're talking about.
Because he doesn't seem to get up quite as easy for headers. Like, that was one of the things that it became like a bit of a surprising factor for United fans, seeing him rising above players that were much bigger than him and getting his head to the ball when the ball was coming into the box. But we haven't got that this season or tail end of last season either. But, he's still a great player for us, and I'd rather have a team full of Martinez's than a team full of Mason Mounts. Let's say that. Chelsea at the weekend, a big test for Manchester United, big test for Manuel Ugarte, I believe, who I reckon will be given the assignment of keeping Cole Palmer quiet.
Yeah, I think it's like a really big game. It's a must-win game, that's for sure. We have to win it. Like, I don't care how we do it, but we just have to. Because I think once we win this game, and like the following games are winnable as well before the international break, like you have to set up the team to be as well as possible before Amorim comes in. So yeah, I think Chelsea, they've been really good this season. They're fifth, I think, in the league. And yeah, they've been playing really well. Very nice to watch, to be honest. Their players are on fire. Cole Palmer, Jackson. They
got dumped out of the League Cup at Newcastle.
Yeah, they did, but they were playing their second defense, which is it's Axel Disasi. They call him Axel Disaster. So, and like Badiashile as well. So like it was actually like very bad to watch. So I wouldn't judge anything based on that, but they're beatable. I wouldn't say they're not beatable. They're very beatable. We can do it. It's at Old Trafford. First league game under Ruud. I think the players are going to be up for it. The fans are going to be up for it. So yeah, we just have to win. Because if we do win, then we're closer to top 4 again. But if we lose, and like for example Leicester win their game and like whatever, we can end up at like 17th or 18th, which is crazy.
Yeah. So what score do you think it'll be?
I don't think we're gonna keep a clean sheet, but I think we're gonna score. I think their defense isn't that good, so I think I'm gonna go for a 3-1. I say 3-1.
Oof, big. I think it'll be if we win, it'll be a squeaking 1-0, and I think it'll be late on in the game that will score it. I do think Ugarte definitely needs to start in this game alongside Casemiro, I believe. Then their attackers are so fast and they can link up very well that's why I'm worried about the Martinez thing, about him like losing some of that speed, some of that physicality. I think it's we've seen that defence get split open before. We've seen Dillit's not the fastest of players. If they manage to get in behind, like consistently, we're going to be in trouble, which is why I think having Ugarte as the windscreen wiper in front of that defence is going to be critical to whether we win that game or not.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should stick to the midfield that we played against Leicester. It's very solid, very compact. They can control the game as well. Like Casemiro, Ugarte, they can control the game. Bruno can control the game. I'm not really worried about their attack, to be honest. Like if you deal with them properly, it's not that hard to just shut them out. I'd play Lisandro at centre back again. I wouldn't play him at left back. I think Mazraoui comes back in. Dalot, De Ligt, Onana, Ugarte, Casemiro, Bruno, and up top I'd go Højlund again, and Rashford, Garnacho as well. Yeah. We shouldn't change that as well. Yeah.
Xerxes started, didn't he, at the Leicester game?
Yeah.
But I think Højlund is probably the league striker that we're going to go for. It will be interesting to see what happens. One player that won't be playing though is Mr. Jadon Sancho, he can't play against his parent club because he's still technically a Manchester United player. But one little thing on him, we're starting to see that pattern coming out again. The dropped from the squad. No, great start. Yeah, brilliant start. Impact. Chelsea fans loving it. How have they let this player come to Chelsea? Man United are mugs. Then you get the he's out of the first team squad. Oh no, you get a bad performance. So he got hooked at half time, I think, against Liverpool. Then you get he's on the bench. Then you get he's ill. There's a pattern. You can go through any of the teams that he's played for previously. He has these patterns. And now we're on he's ill, so he's out of the team. He's not travelled with the team. So Chelsea have got the obligation to buy. That's the only saving grace. That was the only saving grace.
If they finish top 10.
If they finish above us, right? Yeah, or if they finish above 14th.
Above 14th or 10th, I'm not sure. But yeah, like something like that.
So you're going to say that they're going to tank themselves so they don't have to pay 25 million?
I wouldn't blame them.
There we go then. The end of another podcast. We'll be back again next week. We're on Blue Sky as well. We've got an account on there, which is Fergie's Gum Pod at bluesky.com. Are we populating these things? I seem to be doing it sporadically, but you should follow us on all the channels just in case we do post something. Don't want to miss out. It's like spotting a unicorn. Rare occasions that we post on these things. You want to be there for it. It's an event. So yeah, if you want to follow us, we're across pretty much every single social platform there is under Fergie's Gum Pod and Fergie's Gum Podcast. Do you know the exact handles for everything?
Just try either one of them. You're gonna find us, I'm sure.
That's the type of service that this podcast brings you. Okay, it's like you get to find it, so you get to feel a sense of achievement when you do. But that's it. Yeah, good end of the podcast, and we'll speak to you again next week.